than we need to get the same electric utility power coming into our homes. It's the same electricity, state the instances down. So that's my first question is, why not take that money if you got it, and let's start paying down some of the debts? Now, you might also say, along with that, if the city's going to grow, you've got to put in some major sewer lines. You can't go to the south without putting in major sewer lines going down there. You can't get the stuff up to the sewer plant. And you got to do something. Where's that money coming from? You got to dump it with the bucks. Okay? So you might, my question is, maybe because it is just purely a financial transaction we're talking about, is we should maybe consider putting it somewhere else, that money, okay? Then, of course, the only one that always comes along, and we see it all the time in acquisitions and sales, when you go into a thing, and I asked the mayor of this in 2010, when you go into something like this, you better be ready to buy, and you better be ready to sell. So maybe the right plan, and it's happened many places in America, is the cities have decided to get out of the electrical utility business and sell it to people who really, that is their business. Is there any consideration of that? That's my second question. The use of the money, and have you really looked at selling it? Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to start off by saying that the new Prague Utilities is not involved at all with the sewer plant. Okay, we are in charge of electric, water, and electric generation. Okay. To the statement made that our generation is not reliable, our generation is actually in the MISO footprint, in the MISO grid, and needs to be relied upon in due diligence to do that. It is tested twice a month and run, and it is urge tested every year. So its reliability, its modern electronics have been put on it. Is it older vintage equipment? Yes, it is. The newest unit was put in 1983. Okay, that has been maintained very well since day one, and could easily carry this town for a long time. I think I've already mentioned that New Prague Utilities does not fund any money towards the sewer plant. We do the billing for them, and therefore are somewhat guilty by association. I will say that the New Prague sewer plant is a very well managed unit. It is state of the art. Did the city borrow $32 million to install it? Yes, they did. But they have held costs very level the last 4 years, have not had a rate increase. It's very well managed, and looking forward, they don't anticipate any rate increases. That's about all I know about that. As far as reliability of our power supplier, I mean, like you said, it all comes from the grid. Did we have a failure on one of our units? Yes, we did. It was repaired, and it's back in service, and has been running at like 98% ever since. All right, I sit on this as a board member of SIMPA, and I know the details of how those units run. That is a very reliable unit, one of the best in the state, to be honest. As far as the risk in building out, if New Prague were to expand, is the risk passed? Is some of the development cost put onto the developer? Yes, it is. It is reflected in the cost of lots. You're totally correct. I think both of our utilities are set up to operate that way, that when new development goes in, the developer is responsible for some of the cost. And that has always been that way for the utilities. Again, we have reserves set aside, and when there is development that needs to be expanded upon, we have the abilities to do that. As far as what you addressed that the mayor had said in regards to having to grow in order to be able to keep our employees. Our utility has been very stable over the years. I don't really know where that comes from. Do we feel that we're going to have to add employees because we add 750 Minnesota Valley customers to our system? We do not. They have a very good system. It will require very little maintenance in its current state. And we have budgeted accordingly as far as what we figure future maintenance will be, and even future depreciation. We have allowed for that in our budgets going forward, should this happen.
Yeah, I'm going to make just two quick comments. First of all, maybe just a clarification, because I've received this question or this comment on the local generation. And while I would agree that that does provide backup power from transmission outages, I think it should be clear on how far that goes as far as backup. It's not really, as I understand it, it's not really a home backup system. There still is a potential for outages in the area, so it's not a complete backup system. Is that fair?
Correct. Nobody's immune to outages on your system.
Yeah.
What it really does protect us from is outages on the transmission grid. Incoming, and that is the source of a lot of our outages when you take storms and we have a lot of exposure on our transmission systems. That is the cause of a lot of outages, and New Prague is one of very few cities in the state of Minnesota that is able to have our own local generation to put people back in power literally in about 20 minutes is what it takes us to get that system up and running.
I just want to clarify that. And then the one other one, there's a question about I think a merger or sale or looking at something else. And I would say from a Minnesota Valley perspective, we would be interested in some type of discussion around merger, purchase, sale, something along those lines. In fact, we've done it with an investor-owned utility where we purchased their assets in the state. We've worked with them. All employees were, maintain their positions and help gain some efficiencies. There are also examples of where cooperatives and municipals have worked together in a variety of different operating agreements and even mergers to gain the efficiencies across the overall footprint. So that is something that Mid Valley would be interested in looking, if the city is interested in looking at that.
I think on the city's perspective of that, we've actually made power purchase commitments out to 2050 for the city of New Prague, and our commitments to generation, renewables. We're in the process of meeting all of our renewable requirements, have already met our 20% renewables by 2020, and we'll meet our 25 by 25 renewable requirements. So our power purchase contracts, again, are scheduled out to 2050, and our generation contracts are scheduled out to 2030. So really those are in place. And really by statute in the city of New Prague, the sale of the electric system without 2/3 of the voter approval would not be doable.
My question to the city is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Todd Anderson, 503 Bright Court. Some of my thunder's been stolen. A lot of questions already been asked, but I do have one question. Minnesota Valley Electric has 90 employees right now. Minnesota Valley Electric also is an organization to be able to retain and recruit very good electricians, linemen, technicians, and engineers. Does the city have the ability to do that and keep these people on board as retirement's coming through? How is that going to be paid for when you require us? Do you expect any new people coming on? And yes, you did answer that question, but how are you going to keep these people that are experienced, like Minnesota Valley Electric has right now? They have 90 employees that are very experienced employees. And I know there's a gentleman out here that said last at the city council meeting that he was without power for 9 hours or 8 hours. There's always going to be opposition to both sides. I've been a member for 15 years, 5 times, and I've explained that at the city council meeting. Once lightning hit a transformer, power was back on within 2 hours. Semi hit the transformer up there, back on within an hour, never had a problem. You answered the question, we can be here within 20 minutes. I think an hour was reasonable. They had the equipment here, down here. How are you going to respond when we do have a major outage or a major storm or something hit the city? Are you capable, is the city capable with the 9 employees versus 90 to keep us up and running? And one last one, where's the $300,000 a year coming from? Is that banked? I think you said it was banked. Are there increases that are going to help offset those increases, not only to the Minnesota Valley Electric people that you're inquiring, or is that going to come from the current residents that are here to help offset that cost? So you're looking at 3 to 5% increase. Is that going to happen?
Let me address the first question first in regards to retaining employees. New Prague has been very successful in retaining our employees. We've been able to hire new linemen, new staff. I have all journeyman linemen. Not most cities can't say that. They have to have apprentices and then has a large turnover in help. I've been very fortunate, and we have not had that happen in New Prague. Do we have linemen that will retire here in the future? Of course, but we've been able to recently hire linemen, and we have no problem retaining linemen, okay? In regards to the $300,000 a year, the $300,000 a year number is an estimate, okay? It is a number that Ryan and I have determined that is the lost revenue for the customers that are affected, okay? That lost revenue, in essence, is revenue that we will gain by having U.S. customers that we, in turn, have to turn back over to Minnesota Valley.
So it'll be a zero gain for you guys for
There's
the
a
next
little-
10 years, right?
there's a little
so
bit of
it'll be a
margin.
zero gain. So why, with that being said, not to interrupt, but with that being said, it'll be a zero gain for the city. So why would it be in the best of interest to do a zero gain and take on 750 customers?
There's still a little bit of margin left in there, but the huge advantage is in 10 years when the loss of payments stop, the loss of revenue payments stop, all of that revenue comes back in the city of New Prague.
So it's a zero gain for the next 10 years, correct?
Approximately.
Zero
There is
gain.
still some benefit to the city of New Prague, okay? There's also some benefit in our energy sales purchasing power, availability to purchase power. That increases our buying power, so to speak. So there are gains by having more customers, okay, for a utility as a whole.
Would it be in the best of interest to merge with Minnesota Valley Electric? Let them take it over?
It's really not, it's never been in our plans to do a merger. We've been able to run a utility for 110 years, and I think we do a very good job of it. And there is no reason that we can't continue to offer great service to our customers at a very competitive price.
Are you a Minnesota Valley Electric customer?
I am.
Have you ever had a problem?
I have.
A lot of problems?
No.
Okay.
We are both very good utilities.
I'm not saying you're not. I just have a question.
Maybe a couple of comments. First of all, I've worked with now a number of the employees from New Prague, and I think they're top-notch, high quality. So I don't, from my perspective, I don't see any issue with the service that Minnesota Valley members will receive from them. The one thing that I think we need to think about, though, from the overall community perspective, is the energy business is changing. All of us are small compared to some others. And overall, I think as a community, us working together in the long run benefits all of us. So I think the more we segment the utilities, the more all of us have competitive issues potentially in the future. So I think, again, looking at it from a community perspective and looking at it from a utility perspective, I think there's efficiencies in ways that we remain strong when we work together. So that'd be one comment. The other, I'll stop there.
Can you do a franchising?
There's a variety of different ways of doing it. There's some municipals have done franchise fees. There are some municipals and cooperatives that have done different forms of operating arrangements where they work together and share some staff and try to get economies of scale through working together. So there are other models out there that have been successful.
Has that been discussed?
It's been brought up. I would not say it's been actively discussed, but I'd say that from a Minnesota Valley perspective, we're open to having that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mary Cagle, can you hear me? 10th Street Circle, southeast of Prague. If I have this right, 0.1146 per kilowatt hours, that would be New Prague Utilities, and I have MVEC at 0.116. So this would be not even a half a penny per kilowatt hour, which would be a difference of 0.0014. So that would be not even a half a penny per kilowatt hour, correct? Okay. The base for MVEC is $10 per month for MVEC, and the base for New Prague Utilities is $11.59 per month for New Prague Utilities, correct? Okay, thank you. MVEC, this is for you. We've had some problems with power outages last year and one this year already. Some last about an hour and a half. I feel this is unacceptable, especially when the storms have been bad. Not bad, I should say. Not bad enough, okay? And many people rely on their sump pumps and to keep their basements dry. Do you feel that you could do something different?
Yeah, from a Minnesota Valley perspective, we are always looking at ways to increase the reliability in our area. I think overall, when you look at our utilities use different reliability indices to compare themselves with others. Ours compare very favorably. We compare them to Excel Energy. They compare very favorable to Excel. I don't know what New Prague's are. We don't compare there. There's always stuff that we're looking to do to improve. There's been a couple of situations. We had the one where the semi hit the, around the roundabout, hit the switch and caused an extended outage. Looking at, different ways of handling that. If we put, cement posts up in front of it, some of these things just seem to be located far enough away that you wouldn't anticipate an issue. We also had, I know one recently hit the substation. It was a lightning strike, knocked out a ton of equipment. We were able to backfeed the area from a different substation, but it takes a little bit of time to get people in place. We need to make sure our crews have patrol, make sure there aren't any down lines, any cars or anything, and make sure that it's safe to move forward with the procedure of switching and backfeeding. So I would say we are always looking for ways to enhance and increase our reliability. The reality is sometimes things happen, outages happen, and we try to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah, so I was going to say that the storms weren't very bad, but yeah, I guess I heard that a semi hit a transformer. Was it a transformer problem? Or?
No, it hit what's called a PSE. It's a switching device that allows us to reroute power. And if you saw the pictures from it, it's located a ways off. It's not like it's right next to the road, it's a ways off. How that semi wound up hitting that specific place, I don't know. So that was one of them, and then the other one, like I said, was the lightning strike that destroyed a bunch of equipment in our substation outside of town.
Okay, but it was raining the one time last year, and that was like an hour and a half too.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure on that specific one what the issue was.
It was about an hour and a half.
Could have been, yep. Yeah,
I don't
and,
recall that one.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember the specifics on that one.
Okay, New Prague Utilities, will you give the customers a package discount for water, sewer, and electricity right now? Because right now I feel that it's costly to have the bills separate with water, sewer, and then with New Prague Utilities, and then having MVEC as separate bills.
We already do that with all of our customers now. They have one bill for all services. It would just be a continuation of that, so that there would not be another added discount for your billing for that.
And then MVEC and New Prague Utilities could both address the benefits of having the 750 customers. If you could address the benefits of the 750 customers, you as MVEC could address the benefits of keeping your 750 customers. And New Prague Utilities, the benefits of taking over the 750 customers. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
In regards to the benefits, I mean, if you are already a water utility customer of the city of New Prague, you're essentially our customer partly. You are an owner, already an owner of the utility. I think what we can offer you by being a part of our utility is you become part of a local utility that has no debt. So you're not going to be coming in as a new customer and acquire any of our existing debt. We have none of that. Local service crews that literally live right here in town and can respond very quickly. The same or lower rates and the same programs that you may or may not be involved with Minnesota Valley Electric. Again, the added reliability of backup generation should the grid go down. Revenues stay in our local community. It allows us as a city to grow together, and we have expanded functions that we work with other city departments. The monies granted go to the utility, but our staff, we share staff with other city departments. We share an accountant, we share customer service people. So there's some economies of scale there that are beneficial to the whole city. By being able to share some labor and spread that cost out amongst all of the residents. So there are some benefits there of having that.
And can I just clarify, was your question the benefits to you or the benefits to the organization?
Cool, please.
Both. Okay. All right. So from Minnesota Valley perspective, the benefits, benefits to the organization, as our membership grows, we incur costs, we allocate resources to continue to grow with it, to provide the service level that we expect and our members expect. Once we start, when we start losing big chunks of customers, then we have that cost that's already embedded, those processes, that area that we've already invested in, and then our costs need to be recouped, and that's why we have the lost revenue charges and all of that. So from an organization perspective, then long-term as well, the agreement covers that for 10 years, but past that it does not cover that. So we're made whole for 10 years, but not past that. I want to be a little bit careful on the next question, the benefits to the members, just because I don't want to start to get into too much of a comparison of utility to utility. But I'll say some of the things that we pride ourselves on is for years we've provided innovative programs and services. I take Bruce at his word that he'll continue to provide some of those. I don't believe all of them are being provided, but the majority of them will be provided. Our members receive capital credits that are returned to them on a rotational basis. A variety of other programs and services that we offer. So I think there's a variety of things that we bring to our members on a daily basis. We have an organization that's staffed to handle questions pretty much at any time. We have a member services department that's about 7 people, so we're staffed to answer questions that come in and such as that. So hopefully that kind of gives a few items for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I got one more question for the city.
Sir, would you mind asking from up there so
Sure,
everybody
yeah,
can hear?
fine.
Thank you.
Absolutely. One is New Prague water treatment plant is a complete fiasco. We have the highest water bills in the state of Minnesota, period. And you can talk about your golf course. Has not made a profit, has been a cost to the community ever since it's been installed. Now you're talking about you want to take over the utilities. How are you going to keep that from being another mess? Maybe you could explain that one to me. And secondly is, older equipment has a higher maintenance cost. Where's the cost coming from if your equipment is that old already? That's my 2 questions.
To address the to address the equipment cost, we have our generation units under contract with our wholesale power supplier. They are under contract for the life of the unit. All maintenance, labor, and any other costs that we incur are picked up by our wholesale power supplier. They have entrusted in us that there's real value in our units to provide support not only to New Prague, but to the grid as a whole. It is becoming more and more important to have support to the grid with all the renewables that are required to be put on our system. Keep in mind that all solar, all wind, all these mandates that are put upon us as utilities, as requirements, need to be backed up with something. New Prague is part of that link in the backup, all right? So the cost is not borne by our individual customers. It is in our overall wholesale power supply contract. New Prague and 18 other member cities all share in that cost and receive the value of having those generation units. If there was not value to them, or if the cost exceeded what their value was, they would be taken out of service, no doubt about it. But there is an extreme amount of value put on them, to the point that our power supplier recently has invested over $1 million just in catalysts to keep our units in check with pollution control, so that we are meeting our environmental impact studies and abiding by the law. What's the other question? Your other question?
My other question was, the city has botched the water treatment plant to the cost that to the fact that we have the highest water bills in the state, period. You have a golf course that does not pay for itself, that is a continual cost to the taxpayers. So now you want to take over the utilities. Why is that going to be any better of a fiasco than those other two that I've already mentioned?
Again, let me remind you, the New Prague Utilities stands on its own.
The others do too.
The New Prague Utilities stands on its own, and for 110 years have not had a deficit, okay? We currently have very good financial stability, and good financial stability looking forward. In regards to the golf course, that's an entity of the city. I have no control over that.
Well, you're part of the city too, right?
I am part of the city.
Okay.
But as far as the financial aspects of the city, I have no dealings with that. In regards to the waste treatment plant, understand, I'm responsible for water, potable water. Those rates are very comparable to other communities. In
You've
fact,
been on
one
the
of us.
news that you're the highest in the state. How can you sit there and deny that fact?
And that would be sewer, sir. If you want to compare my water rates, you're welcome to look at our rates and we'll compare
Isn't it a package deal?
them. It is not. The water rates are totally separate
Okay,
from the sewer.
okay, well then let's say the sewer plant's botched.
Okay. I cannot answer for what the sewer plant does. I'm responsible for the New Prague Utilities, water, and electric department. Okay?
Mine's $250 a month.
I understand. I know the rates are high,
Oh, they're high, all right.
but the New Prague, please don't confuse the New Prague. I know we all under the city, but please don't confuse the financial aspects of the New Prague Utilities with the wastewater treatment plant.
But the wastewater treatment plant was okay at one time, and then they botched it, and oversized it, and overbuilt it, and put that burden upon all the users. Why do you feel as though you're going to be exempt from the same situation, botching up the utility?
Because I think I have the financial stability
Well, they did too.
to go forward. I mean, we can run the numbers here, and it financially makes sense for the New Prague Utilities to do this, especially long-term, with no impacts to its current customers. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, this subject's come up several times in here about outages and things like that nature. This is really coming from an engineer who's spent 60 years in this business, not from either one of these people. The general position that has been taken is these minor outages, if they are cause you great problems and inconvenience, they're your responsibility. Now, you're going to have to address that more and more in your homes, like I did for people in businesses and for airlines and for all kinds of other stuff through my working career. I look around here and I see older people, and if you have medical situations where you need absolute electrical power and this and that, you best invest in the backup equipment that will get you over a 1 hour, a 2 hour, or whatever you deem should be proper. Because these two gentlemen up your city simply do not have control of a semi driving over their transformer out here, or somebody going out here and taking on a utility pole, or, God, I hate to say this, but for what I've had to deal with in my lifetime, somebody intentionally trying to take out our grids and our power lines. If you have situations that you can't make it through, a 1, a 2, a 3, depending on what it is, you better address that. For $500-600, you can buy a nice little generator that you can start up and take down and plug in on your sump pumps. You can get sump pumps that have got battery backups on them, 2 sump pumps, dual ones. There's all kinds of, but the most important one to remember